So let's say that there is a property that has received a lot of interest and multiple offers, and some of those offers were above list, and some of those offers possibly even said that the buyers were willing to pay a certain amount over appraisal. How does that work? I'm Jenny Hendricks at Century 21 Prestige Realty. Thank you for joining me today. There has been a lot of market activity, sort of some frenetic market activity. There's a lot going on, and there's been some confusion and some angst and some consternation about offers that are accepted where the buyer has said that they are willing to pay a certain amount above an appraisal. What happens if that appraisal comes in low? Well, the Utah Association of Realtors has come out with this new addendum, and it's simply called the Appraisal Addendum. And this is a tool that we now have to help buyers and sellers negotiate that scenario. So let me just kind of set the stage for you. Say we have a property where the agreed upon purchase price is $400,000. Okay. Now the buyer has offered in the contract and the seller has accepted that they will pay, say, $10,000 over appraisal. Well, what happens if that appraisal comes in lower than that $10,000? So say you've got a $400,000 purchase price. The buyer is willing to pay $10,000 over appraisal, but maybe the appraisal comes in at $375,000. We're seeing scenarios that are like this, and like I said in the intro, it's really causing some confusion and some contention in these contracts. So, does the purchase price change? The short answer is no. That said, we really needed a better way to negotiate that scenario, because this is a market where buyers and sellers and agents are encountering situations that we've never really had to deal with before. So the Utah Association of Realtors came out with this appraisal addendum, and it's important enough, it's significant enough that I wanted to take you through it, because I hope that this will be a tool that if you're a buyer that you can use to maybe get that winning bid, and if you're a seller, that it will help you sort of understand what the rules are and what the scenario is when this addendum is being used. Okay, so let's go back to our scenario. You've got a contract where the buyer and seller have agreed that the purchase price is going to be $400,000. Okay, now in this new addendum, the first paragraph says that in the event the property appraises for less than the purchase price, but more than X amount. Okay, and this is where the buyer and seller are going to negotiate the appraisal floor. Okay, buyer agrees that the purchase price shall not be reduced. That's an important sentence in there, because this has been a real point of contention when the appraisal has been coming in low. So let's unwrap that just a little bit. So the buyer and seller agree that if the purchase price is $400,000, that they're going to set a floor for the appraisal. And it's negotiable. It can be whatever the buyer and seller want that to be. So the buyer is going to make an offer, and then of course the seller has the opportunity to accept that or counter it. So let's paint the scenario where you've got a purchase price of $400,000, and say in this example, we set the floor, the appraisal floor at $380,000. Okay, so that says that the buyer is now willing to potentially pay up to $20,000 above appraisal. Okay, now say that the appraisal comes in at $385,000. Cool beans. Buyer and seller have already agreed that they've got that $20,000 window. The appraisal floor is set at $380,000. The appraisal comes in at $385,000. No problem. We've already negotiated that in the contract, and we're moving forward. Now, Say that the appraisal comes in at $375,000. Okay, so we've set that appraisal floor in the addendum at $380,000. Now the appraisal comes in at $375,000, which is below that appraisal floor. What are the options? Well, this addendum gives us our options. So in the second paragraph, it says, if the appraised value is less than the appraisal floor, then buyer shall have the right to cancel the REPC in accordance with the terms of section 8.2. So if the appraisal comes in below that appraisal floor that has already been agreed upon between the buyer and the seller, then the buyer has the right to cancel the contract, get their earnest money back if that has been negotiated into the contract. Again, you gotta make sure that you're clear on the terms in your contract. Or the buyer can go to the seller and say, I want this home, badly enough that I am willing to pay the extra. But what it does is it gives the buyer that opportunity to say, I am willing to adjust my down payment. I'm willing to come in with a little bit more cash at closing, or seller, this is below the negotiated floor, so I'm going to cancel this contract. And at that point in time, the whatever the terms of the contract are as far as the distribution of the earnest money and how you get out of the contract, you would follow your terms of the contract. So this is a great tool. I am so glad that the Utah Association of Realtors came out with it. It is really helping already to really define those terms. I cannot emphasize this enough. In this world that we are living in today, in the real estate market, things are moving so fast. It's easy in the moment to say, yeah, I'll agree to it. Yeah, I'll pay more. Yeah, I'll waive this. I'll whatever. It is so critical for buyers and sellers to make sure that your wishes, that your intention is explicitly stated in the contract, in an addendum, however you need to word it. Please don't make an assumption that everybody is on the same page. Every single term has got to be spelled out so clearly in the contract. I'm seeing more transactions fail because of assumptions and maybe things just aren't getting communicated well in this really, really hot market that we are in. So this addendum from the Utah Association of Realtors, again, it's just one more tool that we have for buyers and sellers to make their wishes clear, make sure that the proper terms are communicated in that contract. I am Jenny Hendricks at Century 21 Prestige Realty. Let me know if I can be a resource for you. I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.